work and stuff. It's like, I'm gonna put a spell on her so she gets so sick she can't come back to work, and we get a new teacher because she's been so mean to me and I've had enough of it. So at night I did my spell. I had my candles. I used to have my little room. I had my candles and my spells. And I just remember her being mean to me, and through the manifestation of my Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Hallie. So grateful to have you all. A lot of you have been asking me to do like personal tarot stories, and I decided to start doing them. So stay tuned throughout the weeks. I'm going to be revealing. Actually, I'm going to start doing a tarot course too. That is listed that will be listed in the comment section of the videos that I do. So for now, the topic I'm going to be talking about today is how I found out I was psychic, and I have actually a lot of stories. I'm excited to be telling you all this, so please like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, so I come from a long line of people who are very intuitive, especially on my mother's side. They said that my great-grandmother, the person I'm named after, was basically a shaman. She could heal people and so forth. I don't know if that's true, that's just what I was told. And she was very healing and very nurturing. I actually saw a picture of her I still have a picture of her. She definitely embodies that beautiful energy, beautiful person. She has just like healing energy. Kind of reminds me of like Maya Angelou energy, you know, just like grounding. I just got goosebumps when I said that. So when I was a kid, always felt very different. I am Sun in Aquarius, and I think that Sun in Aquarius, we just feel different. And I've explained, if you watch the channel, I've explained why. But I remember specifically watching Matilda when I was, I think, 6 or 7, and I felt very connected to Matilda. I felt like, especially when she said, there was a line she said, and I can't remember the line. I think I might actually watch Matilda tonight. But there was a line she said, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally relate. I just always felt, since I was a kid, that things have deeper meanings. And both my parents are scientists, so I've always felt like, I don't know, I've always felt like there's a deeper meaning to life. And I've always connected with astrology after watching certain movies and stuff like that. Actually, I found out later on in my life that my great-grandmother I was telling you about, the lineage, they used to have a farm, and they used to use like biodynamic. They used to like farm with certain, like when the full moon. If you know anything about biodynamic farming, that's what they used to do. So it's been in my genetics. It's a hereditary pattern in the female line, like my mother's side of the family, for quite some time. So back to after I watched Matilda and I just felt like change. I felt like, oh my gosh, my mind is so powerful, you know. So I always had this connection, even though I didn't practice it when I was like 6 or 7. Always felt like my mind was powerful. 2 years later, I watched what's that movie? The Craft, with Neve Campbell. I used to love Neve Campbell. That's why I watched it. I think it was kind of inappropriate for me to be watching that movie at 9 years old. But I watched it, and I felt instantly connected to witchcraft and like the deeper realm, you know, esoteric. Not in a dark sense, but in a light sense. So I would go where there's like this big garden, and I would go and like bring like sticks and stones, and I would like mesh things up and like smell the ground and like really get connected to nature, you know, because that's what a lot of light witchcraft is, connected to nature. And I just always felt very connected to that. So one time when I was 9, no, I wasn't 9, I was 11, about 2 years later, I had this teacher. They used to bully me. In fact, most of my teachers bullied me. I'm not a fan. of a lot of teachers. I think some teachers are nice, but I had some of the worst experiences with teachers. They were really, really horrible to me growing up. So I had this one teacher, and in South Africa we had to learn Afrikaans, which is basically a Dutch derivative. It's a dialect from Dutch, and I had to write out a speech. Now I just didn't really like school. I honestly hated school, so I hardly did my homework. Like, I used to do my homework, but I would like not really do it, and stuff like that. So I wrote the speech. I actually I put a lot of effort, time, and energy into. I spent a long time, I don't remember how long, but into my speech, and I wrote it out. I had a dictionary and so forth, Afrikaans dictionary, and I really made such an effort, So I was reading out the speech. Oh my gosh, it's actually making me emotional. I can't believe a story from when I was 11 is making me emotional. I just feel like sometimes adults can be so cruel to kids, and that's why, for me, it was worse dealing with the teachers than it was the children. Children didn't really bully me like that, but the teachers definitely did. But anyways, so I said my speech, and she cut me off after my first sentence. She's like, "What are you saying?" Like, completely being derogatory to me. "What are you saying? I can't understand anything that you're saying. What is that supposed to mean?" No, just like going on about me, and the whole class laughed at me. And I thought to myself, I like, a tear came from my eye, and I thought to myself, I'm going to make her sick. So she was like berating me, the class was laughing, and she was like, "Come back tomorrow when you know what you're talking about." And I looked at her and I was like, this woman is gonna get sick. I'm gonna make her sick. So I kept quiet, and during lunch, like, that lesson was right before lunch. I remember this story so well. That lesson was right before lunch, and I was like, I'm gonna make her pay. So I overheard her saying that she's allergic to flowers, and I was like, I'm gonna put a spell on her so that when she comes back, because I was starting to get into like spell work and stuff, it's like, I'm gonna put a spell on her so she gets so sick she can't come back to work, and we get a new teacher, because she's been so mean to me and I've had enough of it. So at night I did my spell. I had my candles. I used to have my little room. I had my candles and my spells, and I just remember her being mean to me, and through the manifestation of my mind and my candles, like lighting my candles and repeating, I forgot what I said, but she didn't come to work the next day. So I was like, oh my god, it worked. I didn't think it was gonna work. So I was just being quiet, I was like, this is crazy. I don't know how it would work. I was just being a silly child, So I heard another teacher say to a parent, as I was grabbing my bag at the end of school, when we grab our bags from the lockers, and that teacher, the substitute teacher, said to a parent that teacher, I forgot her name. Her name was Mrs. Buerta, I think her name was Mrs. Buerta, which is a very Afrikaans name. She said to her, oh yeah, somebody gave her flowers. And I can't remember if I told you this part of the story, that she's allergic to flowers. And I said, she's allergic to flowers. I'm going to make sure she gets sick of flowers. Somebody gave her jasmine flowers that she was allergic to, and she can't come back to work. She's having an allergic reaction. So it's like, oh my gosh, did I do that? I think I did that. So I'm like creeped out that I did this, because I was like, it was just a silly game, And now I've learned not to play around people like that. So a month goes by, this woman is still sick, and I overhear the same substitute teacher, the substitute teacher was way better. She was so nice, so sweet, and like, she really cared, and she was very different to the other teacher. I heard her telling a different person, because she was quite a chatterbox, that she's in the hospital because through her allergic reaction, she got pneumonia. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I've really done something to this woman, and I felt horrible. So after that, I never do negative things on people, like never do negative spells or anything. But I did learn to access manifestation. And then I started to watch things. I was like, oh my gosh, I actually am very powerful. And you know, my aunts used to tell me stories about my great grandmother who was very powerful and could was a shaman. She could heal. And I decided from that moment, even though I hated that woman, I decided that I didn't want to use that energy in a negative light. So I spent the rest of my life really wanting to do light work and be a light witch, you know, like using my abilities. So as I progressed and progressed, I knew then that I was different, because I'm not different, but I knew that I had some kind of power because I made that woman sick, you know. And I knew that if I felt a certain way, I could manifest things into being, like Matilda did. And that's how I felt, like I always connected to her. So time passed and I started to read tarot, I started to do this, I started to do that. And I remember I would have dreams that started coming true. I still to this day have dreams that come true. But one specific dream, I was 15, and I remember that I had a dream that one of my cousins died. So I woke up and I called my cousin and I was like, I had a dream, went to your funeral, please be careful. She was like, yeah, she was extra careful, you know. Then literally 2 weeks after that dream, one of my other cousins killed himself. Well, he offed himself. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. He offed himself, which is very sad because he had so much potential. He was so sweet and he was such a great guy. And then I really started, like, I would have dreams that would come true. I would have like all these things. So I really started to access my ability to read tarot. I stopped reading tarot because I was afraid of it for quite some time. But then I restarted, I'd say about 8 to 9 years ago. Like I would go on and off, on and off, on and off. And I would do palm readings and so forth and so forth. But I've just always known since I was a kid that I understood things differently to people. People that are Sun in Aquarius can relate because we often, we're very different to people. And that's something, that's one of the things I'm grateful for the household that I grew up in, is that I was always taught to think outside the box. And like the fact that I was psychic didn't freak my family out because we had other psychics in our family, you know. And just culturally in South Africa, psychics are more accepted than in Western culture, I find. So I had that foundation in order to allow it to thrive and to succeed. So yeah, it always started since I was a kid, but I really knew when I made that woman sick, and I strongly believe I made her sick because I don't think anything else would. What a coincidence that she wasn't sick for so long, and she made fun of me, and I was looking at her like, I'm going to make you sick, you know, because I was so angry and I was a child and I was just so sick of adults getting away with treating children so badly and nothing happens to them, you know. So I was like, and then she got sick. It's not funny, but it's just like, in a weird way, karmic retribution. This little kid can make an adult sick. Anyways, the woman did recover and she ended up coming back, but I had already moved on to the next level of school. When she came back, I just avoided her because I was in another year, but I still had to see her and stuff, but I just like, I acted like I didn't know her and stuff like that. I just didn't want anything to do. She would say hi to me sometimes and I would just ignore her because I was like, I don't like you, okay? You treated me so terribly. So yeah, that's what I have for you all. I do have more videos like this coming about spiritual cleanses and so forth and so forth, but I just thought it was fun to start off with. In fact, That's So Raven, the show about her like being premonitionist, I used to watch that a lot and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like that. And people would be like, no you're not. And I'm like, yes I am, trust me, I can see the future. I remember being at a friend's house and we were watching That's So Raven and I was like, I'm telling you, I'm like That's So Raven. I can see things that happen. And I remember one time she actually asked me, what's gonna happen with our friend? Something happened with our friend. I can't remember. And I was like, I predicted what was gonna happen. And when it happened, she was like, oh my gosh, you are like that. So I'm like, yes, I've been telling you. So it's a bit of a burden, especially when you're a child. If you have a child that is psychic, I would recommend supporting it. Maybe I should do a video on how to support if you know somebody's psychic in your life, and if you are psychic. So let me know if you want a video like that. It's been so fun to do. Yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.